And he's now trying to keep this family together and not lose the plot himself, keep a job.
Yeah.
And to his credit, he quit his job to be with us when we got home from school and took the punt and went out in his own accountancy firm doing tax returns from home and stuff.
Wow.
And now he's the successful man that he is.
Wow.
And so loved and so respected by all of Newcastle that the achievements he's made from losing mum are amazing.
Oh.
But growing up, she was like an A-grade netball player. She was she coached our basketball team. She coached our netball team. It's a typical Saturday morning. We cut up all the oranges. Get dad and mum. We get the boys off to soccer. Then mum would come to my match, watch my team play, coach my team, umpire a game. I'd hang around, watch her play A grade. We get home, do some cook together, and then just to.
It was like at the most key time.
Yep.
12.
Yep.
Like you were old enough to know about everything.
Yep. Yeah, and she was so cool in that way that she sort of had already told me about everything. So much so a lot of my friends used to come and say, "Oh, do you know about such and such?" She's like, "Yeah, Mum's already told me about that." She's very, very cool and very popular. And,
So I was saying to someone the other day who lost both her kids, or two of her 3 kids to suicide, okay?
God.
It sort of, no one knows how to talk to her. So years later, she's actually like, it's been the most horrible thing for her because no one can actually understand that and speak to her. But she's like, what, so I can imagine in your life, if people would hear that and go, I don't even know whether I could bring this up or say it or talk. So I'll bet that's happened a fair bit for you.
Yeah, it kind of, yeah.
Like, what do you say?
It kind of did. I know, I don't even remember going back to school, but obviously I had time off school when it happened. And, we said goodbye to one Friday night. She went out to have a drink with Dad, like they did on a Friday night back then. And she didn't come home. And, I had a couple of girlfriends at sleeping at the house overnight, and I rang the pub to ask her, "Oh, hey, Mum, I know such and such is sleeping tonight. Can so and so come and stay as well?" And we were naughty. We'd pinch some grog out of the cupboard, and I think someone had a cigarette in the toilet, and the next morning, I didn't know that there'd been police around the house and all that stuff. And the next morning, my cousin, who lives 100 k's away, I was pretending I was asleep because I thought, "Oh, we're in trouble here," because we'd been smoking and been mucking up. And I heard him say to my two friends, "Oh, I'm going to drive you home because Jen's dad needs to talk to her." And I'm thinking, "Oh God, big trouble." And then Dad had to tell me that, we'd lost Mum. And I just remember I sort of ran into the school grounds because we lived on the back of the primary school. And my cousins from the Hunter Valley took me for the weekend just to so I wouldn't see it on the news. And because I was a bit older than the boys, the 2 youngest brothers don't remember some of this stuff. The brother under me remembers my mum like as plain as day, and he struggles. But we've all been affected by it immensely, all of us. And it's something that you have to learn. I say this to people now because we just lost a really close friend who's only 43 recently. And I said to his wife, "You never actually get over it. Once you realise you're never going to get over it, you have to learn to live without them." So if you go on thinking that one day I'm going to see them, it actually gives you comfort, whether you're religious or not religious or whatever. But you just have to learn to live without them for now. Yeah. And so I've just lived my life to try to be honest and decent. So both my parents will be proud.
Oh, I love you. Jen. Well, I heard this thing the other day. Well,
you're making me cry.
Yeah, of course. Well, I heard this thing the other day where a guy's mum died of cancer, and it's been sort of 5 years, and he said the exact same thing. He said,
"Oh, thank you."
He said that
it's
exact same thing, but then you realise they never actually go. They're still
no.
They are still there, and you just realise that it's the loss of not seeing them. Listen to me. I really don't know the situation, but it gave me good knowing they're just there, they are gone.
Yeah.
But they're still so in your head
Yeah.
that they're still there. And once you realise that,
Yeah.
it's actually you can speak about them
Well,
often. And
Drewy, I would not be the person that I am without the strength that she instilled in me to survive some of the things I've survived. Is just makes me the fighter that I am.
clearly,
And, I don't know. I'm so lucky in so many ways because my grandparents were amazing. And
on your mum's,
both my grandparents are amazing, but we're probably closer to mum's parents. And my nana was just a very cool lady, so I was lucky to have her. And so lucky to have the cousins that I had and the friends that I've made through those people. They were the women that rallied around me to actually protect me, discipline me in a way, guide me, because we grew up in a pretty. My mum and dad bought the house where we grew up in Gateshead West. They didn't know it was going to be a housing commission area. They bought a block of land as a young couple starting out in life. I came along, they're building a future together, and suddenly, bang! It was a pretty rough and tough area where we grew up. Really was, and so it was just it was a hard it was a hard life back then. It was a hard life.
honestly,
But we I think we were better off than most families because we were heavily driven with sport. Like my mum seemed to be the mum of all the kids in the neighbourhood. Some of the poor kids that didn't have sporting uniforms, she'd sew them for them. She'd drive kids to sport. She was just so loved by so many people. It was like, oh God, did they have to take her?
Yeah.
So it affected not just us, but a lot of people. But
well, it would have changed everyone's life when you think of it like that. Like it would have changed everyone's life. It would have inspired them to I bet the whole area of people in that group of people learned a massive lesson that don't take anything for granted.
Yeah.
If you think about that, honestly, think about that.
I don't think
that whole series of people would have had their lives changed. You would have felt your family, immediate family, massive loss, but everyone else around would have gone, we need to love each other more. Something.
I don't think that happened straight away. I think we just went into really raw survival mode, and I don't think that it's until you become an adult and you become older that you realise that you don't take it for granted, because you're kind of still taking it for granted in a way because you're just surviving on the rawness of losing one of your key family members. And I don't know actually how we got through that time, but we sort of did. I know when we were naughty, Dad used to threaten to send us to boarding school, but he never would.
No.
He's like, if you kids don't do this, and
Did he do any funny things? Have I told you this? Sorry, I'm always cutting you off.
No, you're right.
But I read this.
I know your dad, so I can relate to whatever you're going to say.
Well, I read this. Oh no, I didn't read it, but I heard this great book about like a dad who raised his kids, and one of the stories was when their mum died. Dad, the very next day, nothing was ever cooked in the house. Breakfast, Dad would just get on the barbecue every single day for the rest of their lives in the house. He cooked snags and eggs, but it was on a travel mat on the lounge room. That's where they had to eat on paper plates, and it was just like boom, business. All right, boys, this is how it is from now on. Everything was cooked in the barbecue.
Yeah. No, my dad. He was amazing. He used to. He had his little routines. Like every morning, he'd squeeze us some orange juice. So we lived on Vegemite on toast and orange juice for breakfast, and when you look back at it now, they're two pretty healthy things, to be honest with you. That was our favourite. And then once he'd always he'd have my mum's parents used to come once a week, and that she'd iron all our stuff for the week, cook us our we'd alternate between a baked dinner one week and spaghetti the next week, and so we'd at least have a couple of home cooked meals from Nan and all our washing and ironing done. And then Dad seemed to have this specialty of fish and fried rice that he'd make. He had nights that he'd do things.
Right.
Thursday night was fish and fried rice.
Excellent.
And such a night was this.
Good.
And we were allowed to have McDonald's once a week. Yeah. That was when McDonald's first came out, and it was back in the 70s. And yeah, so then there'd be the surf club on the weekend, and we just, I don't know, we just seem to have nights where Dad would do things. We were allowed to have fish and chips one night,
Yeah.
and that was that. But he did pretty well to keep us healthy.
Mm.
So like, you know, not one of my brothers is obese or with health issues, or you know, they're all pretty healthy.
It blows my mind out to think that, you know, look at everyone lives a normal life right now, but it could be turned at any stage, at any time.
Mm.
It doesn't. We sort of still bumble through life, funnily enough. You
Yeah,
know, we're
yeah,
not in the after, but
Yeah.
I'm talking.
No, you do.
Anything could happen right now.
The day-to-day stuff you do, it's just like life is so manic and hectic and crazy as far as not having enough time goes. It's just like, you know, I don't know. The biggest key for me is to try and see the people that you love as much as you can. Because, you know, we're all work and we're all nuts. And, you know, I live on the Gold Coast and work in Brisbane. What sort of a maniac am I?
Yeah.
I'm on that motorway. I spend a month of every year driving, but I love Brisbane and I love being a city girl during the week, but I just need to be near the ocean. And I don't want to have to plan a whole day at the beach. If I want to just grab the board and go for a surf around at Currumbin, well, how good's that?
Yeah.
I can walk my dog past the beach every day and just be grateful to see the ocean. And
how good's this? Punching through a wave, getting out past the break there, and then looking back on the world. Do you get that feeling?
Yeah.
I have a clear mind. Like I just have, but I need to actually look back at the sand and the buildings and the world. It's like, right, you know, now I can actually think about things properly. It's like this, all the streets gone, wow, you know, you can reset.
And what about when you catch that absolute cracker wave and you're just sort of riding the face and you've got that motion that we all fall in love with surfing for, and then you finish and it's like, yes. And then you think, oh, I wish someone saw that.
Yeah. or the times when I wasn't actually thinking about it.
Yeah.
You know, when you really sort of, it could be in anything, whatever you do, but I wasn't actually thinking about it. That was the best surfing I'd ever done, and I wasn't thinking.
Have you ever done yoga?
I've did it for a year.
Well, I tell you what, there's this whole, I just love yoga.
ago.
I'm loving yoga and surfing. They're my two things that keep me sane, I think.
Yeah.
But you try a yoga class next time, and when they do this routine called Salute the Sun, it's a whole series of stretches, right?
Yep.
That is surfing.
Yeah.
You think about it, like when you push down on the floor and arch your back, they call it the cobra pose or whatever it is.
Yep.
That's what you do when you're paddling for a wave and you push down on the rails and to stand up. You're using all the same muscles. When you do a duck dive, it's like you do this move called the caterpillar. And I was talking to some other girlfriends that do surfing and yoga, and it's just like, you know what? You're absolutely right about that. They're so linked together, the two things.
Yeah.
I just think that
it makes perfect sense to stretch every sort of little bone and movement and do it. You know what I saw recently? I know we're about to wrap up, but you like that term, wrap up?
Mm-hmm.
Hey? Do you say that in the industry?
Look, if you want to be a wanker, you can go that's a wrap. But I don't generally. It's like,
All right,
I don't know. I think I enjoy being one of the team more than being one of the wankers, if you know what I mean.
What about wearing bandanas?
No, not into that, though. Seen you were a couple, though, I think.
Hey, no way. Never. Oh, so, what I was getting at, it was one of those crazy Channel 2. You wouldn't have this on Channel 9, right? Where they cut open a body and they all the skin was removed and they were just showing muscle and this, you know how when you, this will gross you out. Do you eat meat anymore?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
You bet.
You know how there's that layer of sort of, looks like cobweb over meat, right? Well, this actual doctor was saying
that was the fat, obviously.
Yeah, but it's a really fine layer of sort of, it's like cobweb over, that sort of thing.
So they've peeled off the skin, and you're looking at muscle and blood
but there's that sort
and
of funny line of stuff. Here I go on a podcast, talking about crap I really don't know, but it's made perfect sense. Yeah. For years, they thought that was just sort of like waste stuff or just sort of something in the way. But it turns out that's the stuff that becomes like jelly, like fluid jelly. And when you do things like yoga, you're actually, you know, when you get out, or if you have an accident in your leg, or you hurt your leg, right? You know, when you leave hospital and you haven't been walking for a week and it takes forever to actually
stretch
move.
that, yeah,
To
yeah,
actually
yeah.
start moving. That's because that's gotten hard.